Being a lover of history, I was pleased to discover not long ago that my 10th great-grandfather, William Bradford, was the leader of the Pilgrims who landed here in what we now call America over 400 years ago in 1620. It's also true, though, that my great-grandmother Maggie Murphy died of what was known as the poor people's disease, tuberculosis, in an Irish ghetto on Cleveland's Lower West Side about 120 years ago. A generation later, my Jewish grandmother, Anna Brzezinski, died of tuberculosis in Detroit in 1932, where American capitalist hero Henry Ford and his newspaper attacked her and all other Jews week after week for decades. My family is definitely part of the American story. From my 10th great-grandfather who led the Pilgrims for their first 20 years in America to my grandfather, Ed Smith, who spent half his childhood in an orphanage, to my mother, Millie Pettit, who with a brother and sister stole food during the Depression so their family could eat. I am certainly a child of the Euro-American experience. I am not a child of the Asian American experience or the African American experience, or most notably for this commentary, the Native American experience. When Europeans got here a little over 400 years ago, there were about 600 tribal nations. Some were large, some were small, some were agricultural, some were pastoral, some were gatherer-hunters cultures, some were relatively democratic, some were hereditary monarchies, similar to most of the European countries of the time. There were probably at least between 10 and 18 million people north of the Rio Grande in 1600. There may have been many millions more. The best estimates state that by 1800, through European diseases and Euro-American aggression and genocide, the indigenous population had been reduced to about 600,000. That's an over 95% loss of living, breathing people. By 1900, the number was just half that. In the meantime, our government made over 370 treaties with Native American nations. According to most sources, we have broken or violated virtually every one of them. All of them. It appears that our Euro-American controlled government has broken every promise, and we have effectively stolen well over 90% of Native American land. And now I'm just wondering, isn't it about time we paid for it? Isn't it about time we started paying down our debt to these folks? I mean, if I drove off with your car, wouldn't you be looking to get it back or to be compensated for it? If I moved into your house while you were on a trip and refused to move out, you would surely want to be paid for both the property and the inconvenience, wouldn't you? Most people would, and they deserve it. And so do our hosts here in America. So the question isn't whether our nation should make restitution to the Native American community among us. The question should be when and how we are going to do it. It's well past time to pay the back rent. Contact Native American rights organizations to find out how you can contribute to the cause and pay your part of the debt. I'm River Smith with a comment for Liberation Brew and Conspiracy to Love.